A Venezuelan general has been given and taken control of the country's oil industry. A general, no less. We've been watching this story for a long, long time. The collapse of Venezuela. We've all said for a long time, here it comes, here it comes. They've got to be collapsing any minute. But so far, they have not, despite what you're seeing on your screens. Come on in. Vanessa Neumann, who is an expert on this subject and a frequent guest on the subject of Venezuela. Vanessa, why is it that Venezuela has not yet collapsed?
Thanks for having me on again. I miss being in the studio with you guys.
Yeah, really.
The reason why it hasn't collapsed is that so far it keeps finding sort of white knights to come and help it. By and large, it has been mostly Russia that keeps infusing a little bit more money and a little bit more money. However, both Russia and China are now demanding restructuring, and they have agreed to a sort of debt restructure of about $3.5 billion of the Russian debt. So they keep getting infusions that way. Then you have sort of random Wall Street people. Well, I mean, there was a rather famous case this summer of Goldman Sachs making a primary market acquisition of bonds from the central bank of Venezuela, which became known as the blood bonds case and was very, very big, and I discussed with you. And now you have a few other people. You have this guy called David Martinez, who just gave them $300 billion $300 billion in the spring, and is in exchange, $300 million in exchange for $1.3 billion in bonds. And there's rumors that he's going to come back in and do another acquisition. So what you're seeing is the entrance of vulture funds, basically buying the bonds at the lowest possible price, for 1/4 of face value. And then when they force a default, they'll be able to swoop on in with part of the restructuring.
Well, how long can they go on like this?
So you have these random players.
I mean, they've got these random players coming in, supporting them, giving them some money here and there, restructuring their debt. How long can they do that for?
Well, not very long, and I'll tell you why. Because they're having real payment problems. They are actually, so as of today, you have now, you had 2 more PDVSA bonds defaulted last night. So you have 3 PDVSA bonds in default, 4 sovereign bonds in default, and another $1 billion that's late, but still within the 30-day period. The problem is, and some people are hanging on thinking the money's on the way, which is what the government has been saying. Here's the problem with that money. Yes, they have trying to get it paid, but the banks won't transfer the money because they can't ascertain that the source of the money is legitimate. In other words, the banks think it's dirty money. And they can't pay the bondholders with dirty money.
It is. I mean, look, this time next year, 1 year from now, are we still going to be talking about Presidente Maduro and the generals in charge and the refinancing and this, that? Are they going to hang on for another year?
Well, I hope not. It depends on what's catching up with them is a hyperinflation. Right now, people are making about $8 a month or even less in real terms. And the inflation is now, in Zimbabwe terms, it's now over 1,000%. Okay. So that's what's really going to catch up to them, and the failure to make payments. They are trying to hang on. It's not just the general who's been put in charge of the oil company. It's also trade, commerce, and housing. There also were appointed generals. So, and he's calling elections.
It's a socialist military, what's the word?
Dictatorship.
Dictatorship. Yeah. Thank you. I'm running out of words. Vanessa, thanks for joining us. Keep us informed about Venezuela, please, because you're the go-to person on this, and we appreciate it.